Team 6 Star presents Children of Andromeda. Children of Andromeda tells the amazing story of an Argarian scientist named Sukal, who struggles to prove his innocence after being deemed a traitor by his superiors for confronting them with the atrocities they were committing against the Celestials. He has taken it upon himself to right these wrongs by exposing his superiors of their crimes. In order to clear his name, he must find proof that his superiors were knowingly affecting the cycle of life for the Celestials, and to do so, he must search the Argarian bases without being found. What really separates Children of Andromeda from any other game is its highly immersive audio experience, which will provide an exceptionally unique game feature for all players. They will have to constantly pay attention to all audio sources in the game. Features like the sound of footsteps, objects falling to the floor, and even the background music will play important roles in the player's ability to progress through the levels, while providing them situational awareness. Because enemies in the game are going to be attuned and sensitive to the noise the player is creating, they will have to pay close attention to what they are doing. Players are going to have a sound meter, which they can see in their HUD displayed in the game, and will let them know how much noise they are generating, which will be shown by 3 escalating status bars. The green bar will tell the player that they are making little to no noise, while the yellow serves as a warning to the player that they are starting to create enough noise that will attract any nearby enemies. And if the sound meter escalates into the red for too long, it'll spawn multiple alerted enemies, making it more difficult for the player to complete the level. This sound mechanic will force players to be more cautious, which means they will need to be as quiet and cunning as possible when sneaking past enemies, by moving slowly while walking, or even when crawling through a vent shaft. Players will also have to be careful not to bump into any objects, as this will generate noise, especially if an object were to fall and hit the floor. On top of that, players will also notice the background music will start to change depending on the sound meter's level, which will become increasingly more intense as the meter escalates through the levels, until the players become spotted, at which point the music will become dramatic and frantic to match the new changed pace of the game, and set a more anxious atmosphere as the player is being chased. Children of Andromeda is a third-person stealth platformer set in a sci-fi universe. Our game will feature state-of-the-art stealth mechanics that will challenge players' spatial awareness and create heightened moments of stress and excitement. For players to complete levels, they will have to avoid detection from enemies, as they will not have a way to defend themselves. Players will need to hide in the shadows, which can be created by disabling light fixtures, or gaining access to vent shafts, throwing small rocks to distract any enemies, or even using environmental objects like containers or lab tables to hide in or behind, so players will have several methods to help them complete all of their objectives throughout the game. Also, as players progress through levels, they will be tasked with extracting data files from computer terminals that contain evidence of the superior's corruption, and further exploration of the levels will reveal hieroglyphic items that the player can collect, which will give brief history on who and what the Celestials are, and a lot of the collectibles can be found behind locked doors or in containers that the player will need to unlock by completing puzzling minigames that will challenge their reflexes through coordination and timing. Additionally, players will need to occasionally sabotage heavy equipment to hinder the progression of harvesting a Zulrex Null, which will be done by either damaging the equipment or through hacking its system after completing another minigame puzzle. The player will make use of the 3D platforming aspect of the game in tandem with the stealth mechanics to traverse each level in order to successfully prove their innocence and stop the superiors from continuing to harm the Celestials. By sneaking around and actively sabotaging the installments, the players will both slow the process of exploiting the Celestials, as well as gather the crystals collected to return them to the dark side of the planet. As well as the mechanics, the art style plays a huge part in the immersion for the player, and we want to ensure that the player is immersed in our game. When traversing the dark side, we want the art to be dark and eerie, but at the same time very appealing to the players. As the players transition out of the dark side, we want a more comforting look that showcases the beauty of the planet. The dark side is an unknown place to our main character, and we want the player to feel that. The dark and eerie look will help immerse the player in the dark side, and allow him to understand what kind of environment the Celestials are living in. Being that there are 2 sides to this planet, we have the opportunity to bring 2 completely different environments for the player to explore and enjoy. The over-the-shoulder style of our game demonstrates the ability for our team to provide a selection of visuals for the player. Enabling a fully player-controlled 360-degree camera can give emotional context into our protagonist as well as the world around him. But we didn't want to make just the gameplay the only visually appealing aspect of the game. During key narrative points, and in order to keep players absorbed, Children of Andromeda can transition seamlessly from gameplay into fully scripted in-game cutscenes. The game will have strong adult themes that will pull at the heartstrings of our players, and force them to question the morality of the actions they are committing to. Having a strong narrative approach to our game will provide players with an original story that they've never experienced before. Bringing it back to the audio that we'll be using in our game, and being that it's dependent on the situation, we will be sticking to ambient sounds throughout our game, which will give the player a real sci-fi space game experience. The game will consist of two different types of ambient background music, which is a calming space ambient and a more intense and epic ambient. Progressing through a level, at times, may feel calm and comforting, but it can quickly change to an intense situation for players. We want the player to feel that change through the music. We don't intend to flood the game with music, we want the main focus to be on the storyline, with the music really there to set the mood for the player. We want the players to feel as if something's about to happen when the music shifts. Tying this into the sound meter we revealed earlier, background music will have its effect on the meter as well as the player. If the player hears the change, they should immediately feel discomfort, and the meter will jump to the yellow status. This will cause a natural reaction in the player and create a more chaotic atmosphere, which could very well lead to the meter going into the red. One of our team's biggest focuses is on gameplay, and we want to make sure that we provide an exceptional and unique experience for players. In order for us to achieve that goal, we decided the most logical route for the target platform would be on PC, through platforms such as Steam. While our team does have future plans to export Children of Andromeda to consoles like PlayStation and Xbox, we feel the increasing popularity in PC gaming will provide us with a solid foundation to help expand into other platforms. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present our game. We hope through this you see the passion that lies within Team 6 Star, and will allow us to represent Blue Falcon Games with our third-person stealth platformer, Children of Andromeda.